Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Once brothers in the limelight, now shadows in each other's past. What tore apart the most beloved duo in Chinese entertainment? Fame? Betrayal? Or something darker? Today, we dive deep into the untold story of Wang, Yibo, and Xiao Zhan. A journey of dreams, downfall, and the final silence that shocked millions around the world. There are moments in entertainment history when stars align, not just in the sky, but on screen. And when they do, something extraordinary is born. For Wang, Yibo, and Xiao Zhan, that moment came with the Untamed. It wasn't just another television drama. It was a cultural wave that would sweep across Asia and far beyond, igniting imaginations and transforming two rising actors into global icons almost overnight. Before the Untamed, they were chasing dreams along different paths. Yibo, a dazzling performer from the K-pop group UNIQ, had already made a name for himself with his sharp dance skills and quiet charisma. Xiao Zhan, meanwhile, had just started emerging from the boy band X9, carrying a quiet intensity and warmth that audiences were beginning to notice. When they were cast together in a reimagined adaptation of a beloved Chinese novel, a story that walked the fine line between brotherhood and unspoken love, something remarkable happened. Their chemistry didn't feel rehearsed or manufactured. Felt real. Audiences around the world were captivated. Their performances weren't just admired, they were believed. Fans didn't just root for the characters. They fell in love with the bond between the two men behind them. The screen could barely contain the raw energy they created when together. It was the kind of connection that seemed to blur the line between fiction and reality. In an industry known for polished facades, this felt different. Felt honest. Off-screen, their friendship became part of the legend. Candid moments, shared laughter, mutual respect. They fueled a fantasy, yes, but also a sense of hope. People from different cultures and generations saw something in them that transcended acting. They weren't just actors in a series. They were a symbol of what it meant to rise together, to support one another, and to shine without overshadowing. And so, two artists from different beginnings became a phenomenon. Not because of a clever script, but because something truly rare had taken place. The birth of a bond that felt destined, yet fragile. In those early days, they weren't just co-stars. They were the kind of story that fans believed in, perhaps too much. Success seldom arrives as a gentle tide. More often it is a riptide, pulling even the strongest swimmers into unseen currents. In the months that followed the meteoric triumph of the Untamed, Wang, Yibo, and Xiao Zhan discovered just how treacherous that undertow could be. Interviews grew longer, schedules impossibly tight, and every glance was captured, magnified and replayed across countless screens. At first, they handled the whirlwind with the same quiet camaraderie that had won them admirers, exchanging private smiles in the wings before facing yet another sea of cameras. Yet behind those lights, a subtler drama was unfolding, one without scripts or clear villains. The media's fascination with ranking and comparison became relentless. Headlines asked whether Xiao Zhan deserved the bigger fashion contract or whether Wang, Yibo should front the next international campaign. Numbers, box office charts, streaming clicks, luxury endorsements were recited like scores in a silent game neither man had agreed to play. They answered politely, praising each other in every press junket, but somewhere in the forced cheer a hairline crack appeared. It was not jealousy in the petty sense. It was the fatigue of being measured against someone you still cared for. The ache of realizing that the world might prefer rivalry to friendship because rivalry sells more papers. Around them, management teams began drawing invisible borders. Coordinators negotiated interview slots down to the minute so their artists would not overlap. Stylists argued over brand exclusivity. Publicists worried that one misquoted sentence could send share prices tumbling. Offers for joint appearances arrived with rich promises, only to be withdrawn after late-night calls where someone higher up fretted about overexposure and market cannibalization. Each canceled project left a dent that neither actor could publicly acknowledge, and those dents accumulated like bruises under stage makeup. Fans, sensing the shift, became amateur detectives. A missing tag in a social media post, a seat left empty between them at an award show, a brief hesitation before a handshake. Every minute irregularity was dissected for proof of betrayal. The fervor grew so loud that even genuine gestures of support were questioned as calculated. In that noise, the two men who had once shared casual jokes between takes learned to weigh every word, every gesture, against the looming possibility of misunderstanding. Thus, the tension did not explode in a public quarrel. It seeped into silence, a silence heavy enough to bend even the brightest spotlight toward shadow. Late in February 2020, the fragile calm that still connected Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan shattered without warning. A single fanfiction story, merely one creative ripple in an ocean of online imagination, was denounced by an overzealous faction of Xiao Zhan's supporters for containing explicit content. Their mass reports triggered a chain reaction that Beijing's regulators answered with the bluntest instrument they possessed. They blocked the entire archive of our own website inside mainland China. Overnight, millions of unrelated writers and readers lost access to a beloved creative refuge, and the internet, already restless from a season of pandemic confinement, roared with fury. Hashtags ballooned, boycotts took shape in real time, and Xiao Zhan's name, once a promise of light-hearted escapism, trended beside words like censorship and moral panic. Corporate sponsors panicked faster than news tickers could scroll. Commercial billboards came down, advertising slots were recut, and brands that had only weeks earlier celebrated their handsome ambassador quietly pressed delete on entire marketing campaigns. Xiao Zhan himself had said nothing, yet every silence was interpreted as guilt. The weight of national scrutiny is unbearable for most institutions. For a single performer, it can feel like a tidal wave breaking on an open shore, stripping away dignity grain by grain. He disappeared from public view, advised by lawyers and publicists to wait until anger burned itself out. But each day of absence only invited wilder conjecture. Somewhere in that maelstrom stood Wang Yibo. He, too, was counseled to remain silent, the logic being that calm neutrality would shield him from collateral damage. Instead, the quiet became its own headline. Fans who once praised their friendship now parsed his every post for coded meaning, asking why a man hailed as a brother had not offered a single public word of support. To speak risked igniting another scandal, yet to remain silent felt like leaving a comrade on the battlefield. Thus the 2/27 incident, named for the date it erupted, did more than scorch Xiao Zhan's reputation. It carved an invisible ravine between two young men who had once stood shoulder to shoulder. In the echo chamber of digital outrage, rumors hardened into perceived truths, and what had begun as an ill-judged act of fandom became the earthquake that cracked open the bedrock of their shared story. In the months after the 227 storm, fame resumed its relentless march, but the air between Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan cooled to the chill of high mountain ice, clear, thin, and breath-stealing. Industry galas resumed, red carpets unfurled, and both men returned to work armed with new projects and new contracts. Yet their orbits never quite intersected. Seating charts suddenly carried the weight of diplomatic negotiations. Publicists plotted entry routes through backstage corridors so precise that the two stars might pass within meters of each other without exchanging a single glance. On live broadcasts, the director's cameras, once delighted to capture their easy smiles, began to cut away the instant one appeared in the other's line of sight. Viewers noticed. The absence felt louder than applause. The media framed their distance as strategy, clean optics, damage control, but true detachment is rarely so tidy. In candid behind-the-scenes footage, Yibo's naturally restless energy sometimes stilled when someone mentioned Xiao Zhan's name. Xiao Zhan, in interviews, would let the faintest pause hang in the air before offering a diplomatic nod and steering the conversation elsewhere. Neither man spoke ill of the other, yet their neutrality was thick with things unsaid, as though each sentence had been weighed for hidden barbs before release. It was not open hostility. Rather, it was the wary courtesy of climbers roped to opposite sides of a fractured cliff face, each knowing that any sudden tug could send them both plunging. Fans, once bound by collective adoration, split along fault lines. Some clung to hope, convinced that contractual obligations were the only barrier and that a single candid photograph, an airport wave or backstage fist bump, could thaw the ice instantly. Others embraced the narrative of betrayal, crafting elaborate timelines to prove that the friendship had died long before the scandal. Between these camps stretched an expanse of quiet grief. Spectators who had believed in the simple beauty of two young men supporting each other and now mourned the possibility that the bond might never be repaired. Over time, silence itself became a character in their story, a ghostly third presence haunting press conferences and award shows. In that silence, the mythology of their partnership grew larger than the partnership had ever been, and every unscripted heartbeat risked cracking the veneer of composure. Thus, the most explosive chapter of their tale was written without a single shout or accusation, only the slow, relentless settling of frost between two giants who once shared the same sun. But from that wreckage rose resilience. Xiao Zhan returned, not with drama but with spotlight. A record-breaking single that proved his artistry wasn't defined by scandal. He took legal action against defamers, urged fans to act with reason, and slowly rebuilt his image, step by step. Wang too evolved. He became a force in action cinema, represented global fashion houses, and even began racing professionally, all while keeping his personal life out of headlines. Two paths, two survivors, two men who chose legacy over noise. So, where does that leave us? Some fans still hope for a reunion in 2026, when contracts are rumored to expire. Others have made peace, believing their story ended long ago. But maybe, just maybe, their greatest act was teaching us this. Not every story needs closure. Sometimes the silence is the final chapter. And in that silence, there's beauty, heartbreak, and truth. We may never know the full truth behind their fallout. But what we do know is this. Two young men once lifted each other into the spotlight, and despite the storm, they both kept walking forward. That's not just celebrity gossip. That's a lesson in resilience, grace, and growing through pain. If this story moved you even just a little, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We're here to bring you deeper, richer stories behind the stars you love, from all corners of Asia and beyond. Speech Balloon, drop your thoughts below. Do you think they'll reunite someday? Or is this the end of a legendary chapter? Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay kind, and remember, behind every spotlight, there's always a shadow worth understanding. Glowing Star, this is Star Watch, and the story continues.